Today we're going to look at character generation for Black Sword Hack. This is the Ultimate Chaos Edition. It was produced by the Mary Mushman. This is a game by somebody named Kobayashi. I don't know if it has any connection to the Star Trek. Probably not. But it was actually inspired by games such as Stormbringer and the Eternal Champion, of which I have Chaosium Edition, and I also have the Games Workshop Edition, and I have more modern editions, but let's not get into that. It also has some things from Sword and Sorcery, Conan, and some of that genre, and could be lead into, just all those kind of pulp sword and sandals type stuff. So, let's do it. Okay, so I'm going to guide you through character generation. I printed out the character sheet. Just like most D20 or BX Dungeons & Dragons based games, it has strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Your attributes are going to be a little bit different. What I need you to do is roll 2d6 for each attribute in order. And then we consult the table.
Okay. So for strength, 9.
So you're going to write down an 11.
Okay. For dex, 10.
You're going to put a 12.
For con, a 7.
You're going to put a 10.
For int, a 7.
Put a 10 also.
For wisdom, a 12.
Put a 13.
And for charisma, a 6.
6, that's a 10. Okay, now you're going to roll for your origin. Now you can decide from 3 separate origins. You can be a barbarian in origin, which would be kind of like Conan. A civilized origin, which might lead into more like, I don't know if you, Fafhrd Grey Mouser, or like, somebody that lives in the city. Or a decadent origin. That's probably where Elric comes from, because he was the emperor. So which of those 3 do you think more that you appeal to?
Probably the second one, the civilized. Was that what it was called? Yeah.
So go ahead and roll a d20, because we're going to do it all random.
Okay.
And this is going to say where your character was born.
5.
So your character was born during an expedition searching for a mythical city.
So do I write that on origin?
Yeah.
When was it born?
During an expedition searching for a mythical city.
I'm guessing we probably were supposed to write like civilized on this line instead of that whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I could write that up here on the notes for now.
Now for your background, since you're civilized, you're going to be able to choose 3 backgrounds. 2 have to be tied to your origin, and 1 can be from any list. And I'm going to give you a moment to look over those. Okay?
Okay.
So go ahead and look over those. Now as you look over these, when I have made characters and such, it's kind of I like the randomness, but combining randomness with choice, you're not sure how it's gonna kind of work out, and that's what kind of threw me. So.
Well, I'm gonna choose Sword Master for one. I think I will choose. This is tricky.
And for me, when I was doing it, and when I walked one of our boys through this, is you start to form an idea, like maybe, like you mentioned, street urchin, like maybe you grew up in the street, and then you met somebody, they, tempered you in the ways of the weaponry and the swords, and then your other background could come in there too. You kind of start forming a story.
Right. So I'm going to go with street urchin. So if I was born on an expedition, I might have been the only kid born to that group. And so I was kind of coddled and mischievous. So I would go around and, harass the people of the expedition in playful ways. And maybe that's where my street urchin advantage on sneaking around,
or
pickpocketing.
Of course, whoever your parents were could have died, and you have the standard edgy background for a player character.
I don't want the standard edgy background.
Oh, where you sit in a corner of an inn as you grow up to get
right.
Yeah.
Okay, and so 2 of them were from there, and one
Two of
can
them
be
must
from
be
any
from-
list.
Yeah, so it can be from barbarian,
Okay.
civilized, or decadent.
Okay, so let's see. I don't want to do chieftain. Herbalist is kind of interesting always.
No,
Wow, hunter in combat, your first arrow always hits.
no,
That's interesting.
Something when I was like looking through and making characters randomly, something I looked at is, it's kind of like within your class that you chose, you might choose 2 that are within your character concept, but your third one might be something that,
It's totally different.
against type, and something that was thrust upon you. And that's kind of what I looked into.
Okay, well, I'm reading through everything because I want to see what kind of goes with where my character seems to be leading me. I think I'm going to go with storyteller. Okay.
Okay, so just like in most games that are in the realm of D&D, you have hit points. So your hit points equal to your con score. It's at the bottom of your sheet.
Which is 10.
Yeah, so you have 10 hit points.
Okay.
Now, Doom. Because this is kind of based on the Eternal Champion motif, Elric, and then some things that fall in that genre, you have Doom. So you start with D6 Doom die.
Okay.
Weapon and unarmed damage. The game kind of plays not like you pick up different weapons and such. It kind of goes off the basis, kind of a narration thing.
Okay.
So characters will start with a D6 weapon damage and a D4 unarmed.
Okay, so where do I put... Oh, here we go. D4 unarmed and D6 weapon. Okay.
Right.
So it's kind of like whatever weapon you're using, it's going to do the same amount of damage.
Right.
I got it. Okay.
Because this is kind of a...
It's a story-based system.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
In a way... Now, starting equipment, characters, of course, you're going to begin with a set of clothes. Makes sense? A few
Of
coins,
course.
depending on your origin. And 2 weapons. So since you were civilized, you have 50 coins.
Okay.
And that's going to determine what you can buy.
Okay.
Now, for your 2 weapons, you're going to roll 2 D10s on a table. So go ahead and roll for your weapons. You get 2, so you're gonna roll about. Oh.
A 10 and a 3.
Now, a 10 and a 1 means no weapon.
Oh.
But your 3 means you have an engraved longbow.
Okay.
And since an engraved longbow is a powerful weapon, it's two-handed, of course, it gives you advantage on damage rolls. And that works much in the way of how 5e has done it. That's one concept this game does adopt, even though it goes to a lot of older versions.
Okay. Does that come out of my 50 coins?
No, those are what you have.
Okay.
Now, according to this game world, all characters speak Thyrian. I mean, that's the setting language, but of course,
That's basically common. Gotcha.
But this game, as far as I can see, doesn't have a real super default setting except for you craft. So, yeah,
Thyrian is the common language in this game.
right? It kind of mixes a lot of different things, and it mixes a lot of Hyborian, aka Conan type stuff.
Okay.
But Thyrian, or it looks like it's the Merchant League, so that'd probably be the common language.
Okay.
You can also speak one other language. Now, the languages that you can also choose, you get one other. Alashan, which is the corrupt empire mired in corruption. Amharic, the caliphate. Calidium, the desert tribes. Duhog, or Duhag, the forbidden city and the eastern principalities. Jurkah, the iron horde. Nuran, the golden archipelago. Pictish, the Picts from the highlands. Or Urgik, the northern raiders. And with the description, you can kind of sort of guess what type of culture they're from. Now, again, this is the default for the setting that they propose.
So
the game's...
I'm going to put +1 for now.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And then I'll figure it out based on when we play what kind of setting we have.
All right, for the price list, there's a thing where they kind of abstract the price, and it can vary. Which means that certain items cost a random amount. So as you buy things, you're going to look at this chart, and you're going to roll a d6. And that's how much you deduct.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and give it to you, and you can look over it, and we might skip a bit, but here it is. So, for example, if you want to buy boots, boots is in the center column, it's a d6 times 10 coins. So let's say you want a good pair of boots. Go ahead and roll a d6. This is an example. So
60 coins.
Yeah.
So I can't even afford boots.
Those are fancy boots.
Okay, but we start with one set of clothes, which includes boots, basically a basic set of clothes.
Right, and I think that might depend on the campaign. Like if you're in a desert, it'd probably be sandals. If you're in...
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing I need to do is probably get some kind of armor. So there's no proficiencies here. Like I can buy any kind of armor I want. Is that right?
That is correct. You are a hero. That is just generic.
Okay.
So you can be a fighter, wizard, combination of, or everything, depending on how you decide to build.
Okay. Oh, here's the light armor.
Mm-hmm.
So a d6 times 10. So I would want that first. So I'm going to try and hope I get a 1. I got a 3. So 30 gold pieces would be light armor. Ooh, I'm not going to be able to buy very much. Oh, these are just D6 though, so these are okay. Okay, so and simple weapons then are also D6 times 10.
Mm-hmm.
So like a dagger. So I'm going to just buy light armor. So that gives me a protection of 1.
Now you already have that bow that you came with because that's kind of part of your background.
Right. So I don't necessarily need to buy another weapon, but it would be nice to have something melee-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So I am down to 20 coins. So I probably want a backpack. So let's see. And a backpack is D6. So 3 coins. So that leaves me with 17. I probably would like some rope. So rope. It's 4 coins. That leaves me with 13. A water skin for sure. Oh my. I got a fancy water skin.
Probably brand name with, you know.
Probably a Stanley water skin.
Mm.
So I am down to 9.
That's not
No, that's not right.
7.
Thank you. Can't math. And then probably some rations. So probably 1 day's worth of rations. That's all I can really afford. So that leaves me with 3 coins.
All right. In kind of the spirit of the whole Eternal Champion, we're going to go ahead and see what runic weapon you're destined to come upon. Now, these are kind of like, there's extremely rare and such, and of course, yeah, even in Elric doesn't have it in the, you know, opening of the story. So, what I'd like you to do is to roll some d12s for me.
How many?
First d12, roll it. Okay, so, and we're just doing this for fun, so it's a flail.
Okay. 10.
And of splitting. Or splitting, and you know, depend. Roll again.
6.
So, splitting shadow.
Ooh.
I need to roll you a d6.
5.
Now, this weapon is judgmental. It is based in your wisdom. Which means it's going to be very judgmental of you. It's always going to second guess you.
Okay.
Because it kind of talks to you or gives you empathic things.
So it's like a
in your mind.
sentient weapon.
Yes.
Okay. Like Elric's Stormbringer, right?
Or Black Razor from that module, or yeah, a lot of other copycats. So what is it made of? We're going to roll another d12.
12.
Oh, it's you're going to roll twice more. You ignore 12s.
1 and 7.
Oh, your weapon is made of bone and glass.
Wow.
So maybe it has a bone handle with a glass blade. Now, the next thing you can roll, it's a d6, but it says you can pick it. But let's just do random.
I like random. You know I do. 1.
So, When you kill somebody with this weapon, it devours their soul.
Wow.
And since this is your destiny, where can this weapon be found? Let's go ahead and roll a d20.
1.
In the dead hand of a king. So maybe like the first Conan movie where he finds the Atlantean blade. Or who knows? Maybe you have to kill that king to get the weapon and claim it.
Maybe.
And that would be a cool story. So that pretty much fills out your character.
So this actually, the destined weapon would go into stories and dark secrets probably. If you know it.
Right. And it kind of indicates, depending on what kind of game you want to play, whether you want to reveal that or roll it later as game progresses.
Okay, so here's what I like about this.
Uh-huh.
You're not trapped into a certain character type. So you could end up being more of an archer, a hunter. You could end up being more of a barbarian or a fighter. You could end up being more of a rogue. You're not trapped into anything based on your skills. I mean, you have some backgrounds that can kind of move you, but it seems like this would be like an evolving character based on the way you play through a campaign or through a story.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that. That's how I kind of like to play anyway. And normally, like, I'll come up with a character concept, but then through the course of gameplay, a lot of times that kind of changes and evolves.
Right, and as you notice, there's not character classes like a lot of these games have.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You're not trapped in.
Right, it's more kind of open to that. And even though you didn't pick these backgrounds, there's backgrounds for being a warlock or using technology or summoning spirits or that sort of thing.
There's also no skills. So my guess is that when you want to try to do something, I have no idea because I haven't looked at this. I don't know how this game is played. I don't know the rules, right?
Well,
but my guess is that when I want to do something, I would describe it to the storyteller, and then they would say, okay, make a strength roll, or make an int roll, or make a wisdom roll.
Right. Then that's pretty much kind of how it plays out. And then there's of course tweaks to it, with how difficult the challenge is.
Sure.
This game does embrace advantage, disadvantage. If you want, it does that. There's certain things that everybody can do. There's also a thing that this game has of succeeding at a cost, so you can still do it, but it's gonna come back on you. Mm-hmm. I mean, everything is an attribute test in this game.
Right.
And it is what some people have a hard time running it. When I looked at it first, because it's all player facing, player roles.
Interesting. Well, I mean, the character's kind of fun to make just because you get to randomly roll for things, but also a little bit difficult to make because you don't have that class, or that you don't pick that class and put yourself into that box right from the beginning. So that does make it a little bit more difficult when, like, to pick backgrounds was a little tough because I don't know. So I feel like this might be one of those games where knowing the setting that you're going to be playing in and knowing a little bit about what type of game you're going to be playing might help you create a character. But it could be a lot of fun not knowing that too and just going in super random. Yeah,
and well, technically, like if you look at your Doom dice, which affects certain rolls, they also have a usage dice, which, using the standard dice that you get for playing D&D 20, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, usage dice, when you use them, they deplete by one dice step.
I see.
And when you get to known, then you're out of it. So
it seems kind of rules light.
Yeah, and I think that's an advantage for it.
This seems like it might be an easier, maybe, game to play with, like, just 1 or 2 players.
Yeah, I think it works good if you have kind of like in the genre of like maybe if you're playing, well, if you're playing, well, you haven't read the books, but Elric and Moonglum, because, that's a kind of sidekick. Mm-hmm. If you know anything about Elric, his sidekicks don't do so well. But if you're playing like Conan and like looking at the movie, we have like Subutai, he's a good friend and they work well together. One guy can play that and one guy can play the other thing. I think if you got a big group in it, I think it doesn't do as well, because if you got somebody that's going to pick up a rune blade or rune flail or a cool bow that shoots energy things and you can fight Tiamat or whatever, I think that's where, if you have everybody is the Eternal Champion or something like that, it kind of doesn't. I mean, it could work for a 1 or 2 shot, but I don't think it works for a campaign. But I think solo play or single play with a DM, or just 2 players with a DM where you have 2 guys, maybe one guy is framed more of the champion, the other sidekick, might work.
Interesting. Okay, well, I will look forward to maybe playing this at some point. Very fun. And that was character creation
For Black Sword Hack.
for Black Sword Hack.
Thank you for watching, and please take a moment to like and sub.